Hey guys, welcome back to Life Up Education TV. I'm your host Natsune. I'm also the author of the book called The Game of Self-Domination right here. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about interesting facts about anthropology. And I have a few facts we can go over today. The first one is about empathy. Empathy is computationally expensive, and the physical limits of our brains create an upper bound on how many other people we can interact with, keep track of, and generally grok. This is called the monkeysphere and has been estimated at around 150, but it could potentially be 2 or 3 times as large, depending on how it's defined. Beyond this point, our ability to treat others as humans rather than as objects begins to decline. I thought this was really interesting saying, facts. And actually, I found another statement directly comes from Mark Zuckerberg, which kind of relates to this. He goes, a squirrel dying in front of your house may be more relevant to your interests right now than people dying in Africa. And I also remember studying thoughts of School of Thoughts in economics, right? So basically I was going over different, historical economists presenting their ideas, and I can't remember who this came from, but there was an economist who said something similar in terms of the farther you go, it's harder for you to develop the same level of empathy. Like the closer the person is, you tend to develop more empathy toward that person. And I think it just makes sense. And what do I think of this? Actually, as much as it might feel kind of sad and a little bit, it could potentially give you the space to develop cynicism toward humanity. But I think you can also choose to see the other way of the story, which is to say, even if you fail, even if you succeed, no one cares. No one cares about you genuinely as much as you think. And this is a wonderful thing. Because people who are not relevant to you doesn't give a fuck about you, which means that whatever you do is none of their business. So I think this narration is much more encouraging, and actually it gives you the ultimate freedom for you to pursue whatever you want. Okay, so that's what I think. Okay, the second one, it goes, humans survived for hundreds of thousands of years without any government or written records, and only minimal economic specialization. As a result, we are living in societies that are really too complicated for us to understand, and which, as a result, are counterintuitive in many ways. And my point, I'm just gonna read it off because I made a note, and I'm gonna make a comment on it of scripts too. So it goes, we complicate life, but life is so basic. The complication and further innovation of life should only exist not to suffocate ourselves on its sophistication, but let us have a happier and more free life by availability in wider options in life. But when you lose sight in how simple life is, by getting caught up in the pressure in living daily life from overwhelming selections, having to understand all the options and what you want, it becomes confusing really fast. You always want to remember that life is simple. The option is always do or don't. So that's what I made notes here. And yeah, I agree. I think we complicate life too much. Life is really binary. If you decide to do something, you do it, and then there's gonna be consequence. If you decided to not do something, you don't do it, and there's gonna be consequence, and you can't pursue both, right? So life can be that simple, but I feel we tend to complicate things too much. And I think it comes from our fear, fear of FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. But in reality is you just don't know the alternative. Whatever you don't choose, that's not gonna happen. So if a problem happens because of whatever you choose, then you'd have to deal with that problem, and you have to be okay with it, because you just don't know the alternative. You can't know if you don't choose something, right? So that's it. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Ancient Greeks laid the foundation for Western culture only 3,000 years ago. And here's my point. We have not even started as a species. We're still at the birth if we compare ourselves to how old the Earth is, or to even compare ourselves with dinosaurs and other species. There's always something existing about new start and birth. Something is about to start. When you can have this perspective about being new, instead of looking out for a reason to be disappointed, you can feel the excitement for the infinite possibility. So that's what I think. Yeah, like this is true. Like there's always something about starting up, right? Like starting up is always like exciting feeling. Like you don't know what's gonna happen. And then literally you can create anything because the canvas is white, right? And we can definitely have that perspective because, like I said, like we're super new to the Earth. So I think a lot of people forget it because, you know, life tends to get really overwhelmingly stressful or just like intimidating, right? Like navigating through the life. But us as a species, we're just super new, and we could have like infinite possibility of creating whatever future we want to see in the future, right? And that itself is kind of like really exciting. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, the next one. Every atom in your body is billion of years old. Basically, you're stardust. Every single atom in your body, the calcium in your bones, the carbon in your genes, the iron in your blood, the gold in your filling, was created in a star billions of years ago. This is interesting. So let me read my point right here. In a microscope, human bodies are accumulation of small particles and atoms. This is trippy and interesting to think about. By no means, I do not know astronomy or science enough to further investigate this, but the human side of conclusion of this is that somehow energy matters, and there are what it seems less tangible facts about human life that exist and affect human life, such as subconscious mind, energy, and affirmation. My conclusion is always comes back to mind in the end, because wishing and hoping itself, we all know, doesn't allow us to have immediate control over a situation. But it's not hopeless or meaningless to keep the positive energy. For A, to let your mind to persevere. B, to attract opportunities. Even your positive behaviors create corresponding consequences. Right, so this is very interesting. Like if we look at, like I mentioned, if we look at ourselves, like we're not actual like tangible matters. It's just like a small particles moving really fast, and it creates energy. And from that perspective, this is a quantum physics, right? And in that perspective, like there's something that exists, like energy, right? Like, and then with my brain capacity, I can't make sense of it. I probably don't even understand it well, but there's something that that's out there that's not bullshit. Like, you know, affirmation, positive thinking, motivation, like these things, I think with many, you know, with many factors, including like psychology, including like even like astrology, quantum physics, like all that being considered, like there's something of an effect that exists in terms of like you having that ambition, you having that vision, you having that like positive attitude, like actually adds up to your success. So that's what I think. Okay, so this was the end of all the 4 that I wanted to mention today. This was a lot of fun. What did you guys think? Let me know. And thank you very much for watching as always. I will see you guys in the next video.